Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Lower Providence Township Board of Supervisors for Thursday, August 4th, 2016. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Good evening, Denise. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Sorgini?
Here.
Mrs. Ekman is absent. Mr. Duffy?
Here.
Mr. McFarland? Here. And Mrs. Zimmerman is absent.
Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda. It consists of the minutes and the fiscal matters as well. However, I would suggest that we table the minutes for now. There are only 3 of us in the quorum, and I can't vote on them because I was not at that meeting. So I would put forth the consent agenda only including the fiscal matters and ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Second item on the agenda tonight is a presentation to Sergeant Michael Higgins in recognition of 10 years of service to the township. Good evening, Sergeant. Michael J. Higgins graduated from Cheltenham High School in Wyncote, PA in 1988. He received an associate's degree from the Montgomery County Community College and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Temple University. He began his law enforcement career with the North Wildwood, New Jersey Police Department as a seasonal patrol officer, where he was police officer. He was hired by the Norristown Police Department in August 1993. While with the Norristown Police Department, he served in the Patrol Division, the K-9 Unit, and the SWAT team, and had been commended on a number of occasions for his actions. Mike was sworn as a police officer with Lower Providence Township on July 5, 2006. He has served in the Patrol Division, Detective Division, is assigned to the Montgomery County Drug Task Force, and was promoted to Corporal in April of 2013 and to Sergeant in January. He retired from the Montgomery County Special Weapons and Tactics Central Region Team after a combined 13 years as a tactical operator. Sergeant Higgins received a commendation from the East Norton Police Department in 2010 and has letters of commendation and appreciation from citizens and other law enforcement agencies for his actions. Sergeant Higgins, congratulations on your service to Lower Providence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I will say time flies. That's a terrible picture up there. But I want to thank the Chief of Police for his support. I want to thank the board members for all their support. And then last but not least, the residents and the community of Lower Providence Township. Our job is difficult as it is, and particularly in today's society, it's even harder without the support of the community. And luckily in Lower Providence, we have that. So thank you again, and time does fly.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I'd just like to agree with Mike that time does fly. It's a good thing. Mike and I have had some discussions through the years, and when we were looking at hiring Mike, initially he wasn't ready for a couple different reasons, but we circled back around. We were able to get Mike on board. It's been an excellent addition to the department. 10 years has flown. If you would have said this 10 years ago when we were having coffee that you'd be a sergeant on your 10th anniversary, we would have been surprised to say we'd make it that far. But I'm looking forward to the next 15 years, although I don't think I'm going to finish with you. But I think you're going to do great things for us in the future. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sergeant. And thanks for coming out tonight, guys. Okay, item 3A, new business, consideration of a waiver request pursuant to Chapter 81 to permit the installation of a solid-style fence on the corner property at 637 Mockingbird Lane. Mike Mrzinski, it's a busy night for you, sir.
First fence waiver that we're under consideration tonight is at 637 Mockingbird. It's a corner property. It's a property that basically what happened was we discovered a fence had been constructed and without permitting, so we didn't get a chance to kind of intervene on this. But it is a attractive fence. It's a cedar style fence, but the problem is that because it does go ahead of the front building line, as represented by the blue dashed line across there, and it is a solid style. That is, it doesn't have the 4-inch requisite spacing in between the slats. It technically is in violation of the ordinance. And so after speaking to the Polinskis, we're basically received a request for a waiver to allow the installation is done, but to allow the fence to stay in place. And these, as represented there on the screen, it's the rectangle that is below the blue dotted line out into the street. In my opinion, there's no problem with any kind of traffic. It is back behind the street line by a considerable distance, actually behind some vegetation. It is also on a rise, so there's not likely to be any hazards created by it. I don't know if the Polinskis are here. Apparently not, so this is where we're at.
Thanks, Mike. I think we ask the same questions every time with the fence. So you've covered visibility and issues with that. How about neighbor notification? Obviously, the fence is up, right?
Yeah, so I haven't received any comments at all or complaints about the fence. Again, it's something that if you were going by and didn't know the ordinance, it would look perfectly acceptable.
Okay, thank you. I don't know.
Make a motion to grant the waiver for the fence that's installed.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Second.
We have a second. Questions or comments from the board?
Just one question. We have in our packet a photograph, which is very dark. I don't know if, Bill, do we have a copy of that that you could put up there?
Yeah, and I apologize for that. I didn't recognize that was that came through as dark as it is. So I took that copy and actually modified it a little bit with the red indicating the fence outline on this that's on the screen now. Again, this is basically oriented the same way as the sketch plan that was done with the permit application, and it's really to show that the fence is in front of the house line, the build line, represented by the blue dashes. And you can see the corner property and the street. The street is a little bit blurry, but you can see it, the intersection there.
So where on this photograph, Mike, is the driveway that's showing on the drawing?
It's just to the right of the leg, the leg that comes down there
Okay.
in the lower left-hand side there.
All right, so it enters the property near or about where the cross hash mark is there?
That's correct. You
Okay.
can actually see it's kind of how the sidewalk makes a break there.
Right, okay. And just, you did say that there have been no objection received to the existing fence as it's built, right?
That's correct.
Any questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mike, you're on for the next one also, this time a fence waiver request at 704 Jode Road.
Yes, thank you. Again, this is a property that is a corner property. It is a situation in which the resident is trying to replace some dilapidated fencing. You had actually granted a waiver prior to this for the opposite side of the driveway into the front yard. Basically, at this point, they have funds that are allowing them to do further restoration work, which is indicated in the red on the screen there. The idea is that the line that's along the road frontage there is a solid style fence. It presently is a fence that is a stockade style fence, and they want to go with a vinyl solid style fence. which we can show you a picture of if you'd like. It's going to be on the other file. Keep going. No, next one. There's another file there. That one, yes. And so the applicant is actually doing two different styles of fence. This would be the one that's on the street. Again, it doesn't have the requisite 4-inch spacing, but it does allow for some openings, and it would certainly be somewhat more attractive than what is there presently. I don't know if Ms. Williams is in the audience. No. Okay, so again, I haven't heard any complaints from anybody. Now, this fence has not been constructed yet. They do have a solid style fence, but it's the old fence that they're replacing with this new vinyl style fence. It's very similar to the application just before you, in the sense that it's one side of a driveway. It doesn't it's back off the roadway, off the cartway a bit, so it's not going to present a hazard going up the hill there.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
Do we make a motion first?
Yeah, well, okay. Do we have a motion to approve the fence waiver for Jode Road?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions from the board?
Yes, Mike, the current fence that's being replaced, is that a stockade-type fence, did you say?
It is, yes.
And it is originally of the type that the previous picture showed?
No, it is more of a solid style fence, more of traditional style fence. The picture that was shown up there is actually, they're doing two styles of fence. If you go back, if you were to look at the site plan, you'll see that there's it's an odd-shaped lot. Whoops. Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay. There's a piece that goes back from the street towards the back of the yard there, a little bit to the right. That's going to be that style fence, the cedar style fence.
The cedar style,
You're
okay.
going to do the cedar there and the white vinyl up along the street there.
Okay. And the white vinyl would be parallel with the street?
That's correct.
portion. Okay. And again, no neighbor objections that you're aware of?
No, not at all.
Okay, I'm done, thanks.
Questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Item 3C, consideration of LD 16-03, Lower Providence Presbyterian Church, minor subdivision, lot consolidation plan, and Peter Nelson has information about that for us.
Okay, I believe this was discussed at your last meeting, and my office was instructed to prepare a resolution, which is in your packet. It's a very straightforward resolution. Since this is actually not a subdivision, but the opposite of one, is the church combining several parcels into one parcel. The resolution simply approves that plan, and it has no conditions attached to it. If there's any further questions, I can try to attempt to answer them. There was a Montgomery County Planning Commission, to figure out where I'm at, review of this. They really raised no questions other than some outbuildings that are pre-existing. This plan does not change the legality or validity of those outbuildings. They're pre-existing structures that the plan has no effect on.
Thank you, Peter. Do we have a motion to approve the consolidation of LD 16-03, Lower Providence Presbyterian Church minor subdivision?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none. Any from the audience? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Item 3D, consideration of request from the Lower Providence Community Library for a waiver of the plumbing permit fee. And Mike, you have information on that as well.
Yes, thank you again. As you know, the library recently completed a renovation of their facilities next door. After the original plan went through, they discovered a little bit more plumbing work needed to be done. They applied for a permit to run an additional line inside. And basically, they're asking for a waiver of the fee, which would be $103.
Thank you, Mike, and we've talked about that before. We're effectively charging ourselves when we do that because it's our own entity, so. Is there a motion to approve the Lower Providence Community Library request for a permit fee waiver?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3E, consideration of dissolution of assets through a public auction. And John Primus has some information. Good evening, John.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, now and then we have vehicles taken out of the fleet because of their age or their mileage or just too expensive to repair. We need the board's approval tonight to bring 3 vehicles down to the auction for August 20th. The first one is a 2008 Crown Vic with 135,000 miles, a 2011 Crown Vic with 114,000 miles, and a Chevy van with 85,000 miles.
Thank you, John. Very impressive that we got 26 years of service out of that Chevy van. Is there a motion to approve the dissolution of assets as indicated by John Primus?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted, these vehicles have been replaced. In other words, there are newer vehicles now currently in service to replace these.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. By way of announcements, items, no, sorry, missed that. Update number 4, sorry, I'm looking right there. Update on 2014-15 pension plan. Jerry has information. Good evening, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the last few months, a representative from the Pennsylvania Auditor General's office was on site as well as conducting audits off-site for the 2014 and 2015 calendar years for the township's 3 pension plans. I am pleased to report that the preliminary final report is that there are no findings on any of the pension plans. Supervisor McFarland was able to attend the exit conference that was held here on July 19th, as well as our accounting manager, Susan Law. So while there were no findings at all, there was one verbal observation, and the Auditor General is recommending that municipalities, when there are final calculations completed for someone who is ready to enter the drop or ready to retire, that a governing body of the municipality reviews and approves these calculations. At this point, the information is provided through Human Resources and our accounting manager to the actuary. He makes the final calculations based on that information, as well as what he has already provided to the state in various annual and biannual reports. However, the Auditor General's office would prefer one additional step. And that governing body may be either the Board of Supervisors or the Pension Committee. So that's what the board would need to decide moving forward, which governing body, or perhaps it's either one, depending on the timing. The Auditor General's office is also well aware that sometimes the timing of a retirement notification isn't going to allow us to run the calculations by a governing body prior to someone giving us a 2-week notice that they're going to retire, and that has happened in the last few years. So it may also be after the fact that someone retires. And I don't mean 6 months after the fact, but if it's a week or 2 later, that is also acceptable.
Will we need a resolution moving forward that will establish our procedure, or can we just take it as it comes?
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that question. I would defer to the solicitor on that, but it certainly.
Yeah, I think there should be a board discussion, and then if the board does decide to act on this comment, that it should be something Probably in writing a resolution that the board adopts at a public meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now moving on to item 4, announcements. There will be a Parks and Rec Board meeting on August 9th at 7 p.m., a Sewer Authority meeting the following evening, August 10th at 7:30 at the Sewer Authority Building, and the Library Board of Trustees will meet on August 15th at 7 p.m. Item 5 is comments and other business. Comments from the board.
I'd briefly like to just comment that, as I think most of us in the township know, the On Your Mark number 8 is scheduled for Saturday morning. The run begins at 8:30. I would certainly like to offer our comments and thanks from the family for all that the township has done for all of these years, including this one. Virtually everyone sitting over there and many others as well have been instrumental in making this a great success. The registrations are above last year, so we expect to have another very successful event, and we're very grateful for all that the township and the sponsors have done to make that successful. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Madam Manager, anything? Mr. Solicitor?
Nothing.
Staff? Okay, courtesy of the floor. Mr. Borai.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, Denise. First thing I want to say is it's really nice to look at a professional board sitting there, dressed up with suits and ties on. You look at some of these other townships around you, they're in golf shirts and shorts and everything else, but it's really a pleasure to come in and see the professional staff and the professional supervisor. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
Another thing I'd like to say too, I really came to see Mike get his 10-year award. And you know, I think basically it all funnels down from the top. Mr. Sorgini, when you read where Mike came from, you know, from Jersey and then into Norristown and everything else, it's amazing how many police officers we have downstairs that came from different departments only because we have the best. Next, I'd like to say, what a testimonial for our police department. I don't know if you've been driving around, you see these blue and white signs out saying, you know, thank God for our Lower Province Police Department, et cetera, et cetera. There was 500 signs bought. They went in a week, ladies and gentlemen. The township residents were calling and calling and calling and wanting them and wanting them and wanting them. They were put out on commercial properties. The residents were stealing them off the commercial property so they could put them on their own lawns. So, you know, there's a young lady that went way above and beyond to put this thing together. She's sitting back of me in the back row. Leah Baird did the job. She put the picture together. She put it together. She put all the work in action and did a hell of a job. And you know, I like to give her a hand of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So when she took the bull by the horn, the bull ran. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Borai.
And
I
you
don't
got
think we
your-
could have said
you
it
got
any
your-
better.
You got your 6 signs in your driveway.
And absolutely. Thank you, sir. Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Okay. Oh, yes, sir. Please come forward.
Excuse me, I'm a little new at this.
No.
First time.
Thank you for coming out.
Okay, ladies, gentlemen. My name's Bill Garvey. I live at Colony Arms Apartments. I've been there nearly 10 years, and I'm a contractor, and I've been a contractor for 20 years. I was a maintenance tech at Fort Falls Corporate Center. I've seen more violations at this building. I went to Mike, talked to Mike, asked him if there was kids coming in for company putting plumbing shut-off valves on. Were not certified plumbers. They didn't know what they were doing. They messed the job up. Pipes started banging, and turn around, the maintenance guys went crazy trying to figure it. They put valves backwards. I went in, I asked the kid, what are you doing? He says, I'm sweating these pipes on. I've done plumbing. And he's took like an hour to sweat 1/2 inch pipe. And he kept saying, well, I'm not going to repeat, there's ladies here, what he was saying. I said, they asked him, I said, are you certified? He said, no. So, that's one. I came to Mike, asked him, did they pull a permit? Every township I go in and work, I had to pull a permit, me and my son, or we didn't even do it. We weren't certified to do it. We had to get a certified plumber in there. You got 160-some apartments there, and they turn around and they didn't pull a permit. I asked Mike, come up, check with Mike. Mike might remember me, Bill Garvey came up, give you my business card. They didn't pull a permit. So another thing, I turn around, they put, last year, if you remember, we lost 4 people in carbon dioxide, 2 kids, 2 grown-ups. A $3 smoke detector, they got gas in there. There's no carbonized smoke detectors under carbonized. I'm a little nervous. I'm
No,
trying to remember. But a $3 part. And they got kids in there and they got 160-some apartments. So I went and I checked into it. I did some survey. Lower Providence don't have no jurisdiction over their apartments. Now, where's safety come in? Where's for life? And when the kid welded these pipes, what if they blew apart? And a little kid, they have a lot of little kids in there. I've seen kids burn, and probably some of the people have the hot water coming out of that heater, baseboard heater. Then they got electrical wires running over the top of the baseboard. I had somebody from the township come in and check it. I did a little, before I opened my mouth, I came here. This is the first I've ever been here. But I think, I'm living there 10 years. I'm a recovering alcoholic, I'm a Vietnam vet. I've never seen and the guys that have worked there, they're not certified to do plumbing. So I think the township would check into, find out where their jurisdiction is. Every township there's no fire extinguishers in them. You know?
Okay, yeah.
So I brought it to the townships,
Yeah, we appreciate that, and we'll work with Mike, and we'll check into it.
And Mike needs me, he has my business card. I don't know if he threw it in the trash, but I took this off my ceiling, bring it. And I have another one I put in there, for safety.
Sure.
But I brought it. This is a $3 part.
Yeah.
And if you're buying them in thousands, they're probably getting them cheaper. So,
Okay. Thank you for letting us know. We appreciate that very much, and we'll take a look.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for an adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Nobody's opposed. Thank you very much for coming out tonight, folks. See you back here in 2 weeks.